Alan Gaiman, and I came to Mequon-Thiensville from a little town called Antigo, Wisconsin. I was a farm boy, and my parents kind of forced me to go to a county normal school where I got my 2-year education and degree. So from that normal school, the superintendent said, "Here, Mr. Gaiman, here's a nice position for you." It's on a 3x5 card, and it said, "Opening Mequon-Thiensville Country School." Where is Mequon-Thiensville? I had never left Antigo. But anyway, I took the card, and I took a day off, one of the very first days I would ever have thought of skipping school. And I came down here and found this Holstein school. And I was met by 3 board members, and the chairman was Ted Egelhoff. And I met with about an hour or 2 with the board, and they gave me a contract to take along back home at 19 years of age. So, and at that time, of course, teaching at Holstein School. Holstein School was built, by the way, in 1936. And it was named this, it was chosen because the majority of the farmers all around had Holstein cows. Okay? And this brick building was considered quite modern at the time. I was impressed, in fact. It had separate indoor restrooms for boys and girls, okay? Running water, hot and cold, an electric bell. The bottom floor even had a gymnasium. And in 1959-1960, the school had grown to a 2-room school where we used that bottom level for grades 1 through 4 with an enrollment of 48 students. And I started out with 21 in 1954. The main teaching aid, of course, in those days was the blackboard. And in our education at the county normal, we were taught to put everything on that blackboard, especially reading. Made that new vocabulary list. You wrote out sentences and put that vocabulary, underlined it. It was filled. My front board was full of writing, and my sideboard every day. So it was not unusual for me to be at school at least by 7 in the morning to get everything on, or to leave late at night after 5 o'clock. That always was expected. That's the way we were trained. Okay. And of course here too, I was fortunate enough to be a part of library in the where I was trained, and so I developed the Dewey Decimal System for children in Holstein School. So I even had, when the student became an 8th grader, one would be designated as the librarian to check in and check out the books. And Holstein, the board was very gracious to me. Every year I was given quite an allotment of money to purchase new books once they thought I saw this library built up, along with updated magazines. Another thing is the school had a movie projector that I believe was 8mm, and we were one of the fortunate ones around. So I would always order movies, and mostly they dealt with conservation, at that time, agriculture. And if I could, most of them were free. And the University of Wisconsin, of course, had pamphlets where you could order from. So that was quite special. And this is really unique, I thought. The school district provided all of the supplies for the children. Pencils, papers, erasers. Children did not have to buy one thing. All the workbooks, everything. Parents did not have to pay for any kind of a fee at all. And so it was, though, the duty and the responsibility of the teacher, of course, to get all of those supplies. I had a 1947 Studebaker, so on my way back to Antigo, I'd stop in the Fond du Lac, load that car down with supplies, and bring it back, and I would have to make 2-3 trips before the school year started to get all of that stuff. Okay, all the supplies for the children. Kind of special, though, at that time. And I was taught in my training that we would go out to visit the child in the home. So all of my teaching at the country school was a week before school, I would go and visit the children. And it was really unique to see the children in their own setting. They showed me the different animals they had to take care of because there was still a farming community. They would show me their bedroom. And Mom would always have kind of a little treat after the visit, which was so nice. And I can still, it's so vivid in my mind, how many of those parents invited me for dinners, because I was kind of single at that time, and I couldn't kind of prepare my own meals very well, although I lived in with Mrs. Egelhoff. So, at the Holstein School, all the children walked, of course, to school. Rain, shine, or snowstorm. And I can recall only missing 2 days of school in my 6 years there. And that was because of an ice storm, and it cut off our electricity. Other than that, I was there every day. Even though maybe a snowstorm, children couldn't make it, I would be there. Okay. So I was the teacher, I said. I was the principal and the custodian. So in snowstorms in the morning, I would have to shovel the whole entranceway, and the paths where they went to play, whatever, outside. That was my job. They did pay me $100 a year for that, by the way. And with my beginning salary, what was encouraging, surprisingly though, they offered me $3,000, whereas up north I couldn't even come close to a $2,000 contract. So there was quite a difference there. And I had to make a big decision. I was a farm boy at that time and going to school. Was it farming or teaching? So I had chosen this one. My mother kind of insisted that I could do both. But I had to leave back some tears at home. And moving on, the curriculum was very interesting in the country school, because I taught reading. First grade, you taught reading twice a day. It was always in the morning and the first thing in the afternoon. But the curriculum classes that were taught each day were reading, math, spelling, language, and writing, and they would be every other day or so. Science and social studies were taught to combined classes, and we would rotate those every other year. This meant, of course, teaching about 30 to 40 lessons a day, and some lasted 10 minutes, some classes were 15 minutes, depending on the topic and the subject matter. Music and art were taught using programs from the University of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin School of the Air, and I can still remember Ranger Mac, Let's Draw, oh, let's sing, and book trails. I was, of course, taught to use the pitch pipe, and I loved singing myself. Physical education, of course, I played basketball. I played various sports in high school and in the college where I attended. And so I played lots of basketball with the children. The parents would drive us to the community center in Mequon. And there I would have practice with the children for an hour. It would be either once to twice a week in the wintertime. Otherwise, in the summer, I had a little basketball hoop outdoors. And softball was a big thing in the country school, boys and girls. All the children could participate, even the first graders through the 8th grade would be part of that play. Let me move on here. And I can still remember this Elmer Kyle, the Ozaukee County Superintendent, and the supervisor, Mrs. Bradley, who would come in and, of course, supervise. But right away, as they'd come in, let me see your lesson plan book, and take my lesson plan book and go in the back, and they would go through it to make sure that I would be following that curriculum, and I had the amount of time allotted, to each of the subject matters. Quite impressive at that time. And of course, the county nurse would come by periodically to see that the proper hygiene, was followed in the school, wouldn't be kind of smelly, and of course, she wanted to see that those goiter pills were being used. That was important to her. Some of the most important memorable things are the children, the parents, and teacher. Really, we became such a close-knit family. And having those same children, year after year, formed a bond for me and for the child. And it wasn't even between teacher and child, but a first grade child and a fourth grade child, that we just learned everyone from each other. And so I became very close to, I said, the parents in the community. That was a very important source for communication, is that closeness, that bonding. So, and through that bonding, two major really events took place in the country school. One was the Christmas program. You just can't forget about that. We set up a stage in front of the school, moved desks back, moved tables out, and we by the stage we took a sheet to form the curtain, and we started this big practice after Thanksgiving on various plays and songs. Everyone had a part, participated, and would be on stage with, of course, a big Christmas tree all decorated. And of course, there was lots of recitations which had to be memorized, okay? And all the familiar Christmas hymns and secular songs we sang. And of course, because I was singing and I had a good friend that was a piano player, I had all the parents singing those great old songs. So the evening, of course, culminated with a nice visit from Santa Claus, and he always gave out special gifts to every child that was there. And in fact, we always arranged even for the little brothers and sisters that weren't even in school. See, that was a part of our community, that closeness at that time. And of course, then the school picnic, that was a biggie. Each parent brought in, it was a potluck meal, and it was followed, I had all these old-time games, the sack race, gunny bag races, and ducking for apples, and I could go on and on with that. We had homemade ice cream, imagine, which made really a sweet ending of the year. And I just want to say this, that rural neighborhood school, when we changed with consolidation to the urban setting, was very, very hard for parents out there. Because they felt it lost that closeness to the teacher. And how would a rural little country farm kid, get along with a child that was in an urban area? Some of my more memorable areas were being a farm boy. I came to a week early at Holstein School, and I'd go across the road to the Heuser farm, borrow his tractor and his mower, and I had to cut the hay, okay? I would cut the hay down with that mower, and for the baseball diamond and all the playground area. And then a day or later, I'd get his old hay rake and rake it up in furrows, and he would come and help me. We'd load the loose hay on the wagon, and he would haul it back to his farm. And the other thing is, of course, all of us at that time, it was difficult. We were poor. I came here poor, and I had no place to live. I always lived in the farm. Coming down here, I didn't have a foreseeability to find a place to rent. So I slept in my car for 3 weeks. Well, I was caught for the third time by the sheriff department. He caught me the second time and said, "You gotta find a place." So I didn't quite get to that point the third time. He said, "Well, this time, where do you work? What do you do?" I go, "Ted Egelhoff. I'm a teacher at Holstein School." So he called Ted Egelhoff, and Ted Egelhoff then, of course, had me, he found a lovely place with his mother. So that was my first renting place. And at that time, as you know, we only got paid once a month. So I didn't have any money. So Ted Egelhoff loaned me $50 so I could finish out the month to get by and survive. So kind of a unique beginning of my life. Thank you.
Thank you.